Back, you're watching the Front Row with me, Abi Agina, and our discussion for the program, we're focusing on cross-border peace, even as Kenya and Uganda mark 1 year since the signing of the Moroto Peace Accord. And before we went for the break, we are getting sentiments from our panelists, that is Mr. Eugene Wamalwa, CS for Devolution. We're also honored to have Mr. Sid Chatterjee, UN Resident Coordinator for Kenya, just giving us their perspectives into this very important milestone around peace and security in Africa. Well, to be part of this conversation, you can engage with us on our social media handles at KTA News KE. You can also tweet me at Agina Abi, and we'll be able to sample your views as we proceed with this forum. Well, gentlemen, as we take this conversation forward, I'd like to get your input, Mr. Chatterjee. When we look at some of these peace efforts, talk to us about what other peace efforts are we giving a priority to, especially we know there's the programs that we are running in Ethiopia and Sudan. Just give us a sense of what this means from a broad perspective.
From a broad perspective, at least from the Kenya side, I'm very clear. The entire UN country team wants to see the Big Four development agenda implemented in these areas. So the priorities on health, the priorities on agriculture, the priorities on making sure that we get people out of the drudgery and the painful reality of everyday poverty and look at what we can do to transform their lives. As the CS earlier said, these are people who've been left desperately behind the development curve. And thanks to Kenya, I don't know how much of your audience is aware that the Sustainable Development Goals came to fruition thanks to the leadership or the co-leadership of Kenya and Ireland that really pushed this whole agenda through 2014, 15, 16, and your own Principal Secretary, Ambassador Macharia Kamau, actually used to lead this effort as the Kenyan ambassador to the UN in New York. So what is very significant about this program is that why I'm commending both the countries is the SDGs came to fruition. What we want to see is the SDGs happen, and the whole principle of the Sustainable Development Goals, that the Secretary General reminds us every other day, is to leave no one behind and to reach the furthest behind first. What Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia are actually demonstrating as governments is how to get to the furthest behind first. No better opportunity than to actually allow for these cross-border programs to happen. So in time, you've already seen UNDP acted very quickly, both in terms of the Uganda side and the Kenya side. The Kenyan president wanted to see those water resources available, as the CS pointed out. Water and pasture were the primary reasons for internecine conflict. If you go there, you'll find culturally, language-wise, so many similarities, yet they get divided on the clan and sub-clan lines simply because of a complete dependence on these two resources. If we can overcome this particular dependence, I mean, I would draw you to an op-ed written by our Deputy Secretary General, and she reflects on the whole issue of climate change in this region and how it is hampering lives and livelihoods. This is the opportunity where we can transform it, and what we need to do is harness big data, technology, innovation to really transform these places, which means that we have to open up these places for the private sector to thrive in, because that is how jobs will be created, opportunities will be created, there'll be more production, and therefore these will be the new realities of this ecosystem. That's why if you sense a level of optimism in me, I've been in the UN system for over 24 years. This is really a first that I've been able to witness and be part of. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee. And Mr. Wamalwa, what the UN Resident Coordinator is referring to is the efforts that we are seeing the dividends right now actually works of a lot of concerted efforts. And of course, you have termed these dams as the peace dams, which are looking to see us spend about 250 million Kenyan shillings. Just walk us through. The scarcity of resources seems to be at the heart of conflict, and one would ask, why did it take this long for us to be able to sort out the issues facing the border communities?
I think I would say we have had our own national programs that have been ongoing When it comes to water, before the 3 peace dams that His Excellency the President directed, we had other dams that we were developing. When I was at the Ministry of Water, when we look at a county like Wajir, we have Butte Dam that is under development. When it comes to Turkana itself, we have Lowat Dam. This is a mega dam that is being developed in Turkana South. So the peace dam that we're developing in Loima is a bonus. It's an added advantage to the people of Turkana, because the president asked us, why is it that Uganda is using 250 million to build a dam like this? But when it comes to Kenya, it's taking us so long to put up such dams, and it's costing much more. So he directed, we want to see a similar dam like Kobebe in Turkana, in West Pokot, in Marsabit, at a cost of 250 million. As we speak, we have 3 dams ongoing, costing 750 million. These are going to be like model dams that we would like to replicate in the other ASAL counties. And we know that we're not just looking at the border counties, we have also a conflict internally between the Turkana, the Pokot, the Marakwet, all the way to Baringo, all the way to Maralal. So we have also dams that we are going to put up in Baringo, like Radat Dam, and 1 more peace dam there. We have Maralal Dam that's coming up in Samburu, but the president has directed we put up an extra dam under the peace program. So we will have water being the biggest source of conflict being sorted out, so that we integrate these communities. But we are not just looking at water. We are looking at infrastructure. These are areas that had not developed infrastructurally. And we want to thank our 2 presidents. When we're in Moroto, President Museveni directed his people to fast-track tarmacking of the Kapchorwa Swam Road. As we speak, on the Kenyan side, President Kenyatta has directed construction of the Kitale Endebe Swam Road so that it meets the Kapchorwa Road. And from Moroto, we have the Ugandan government building the Moroto-Lodwa Road. On our part, from Makutano in Kapinguria to Konyao, we have a tarmacking of that road that's ongoing, that will go all the way to Konyao, to Amdat, and connect to Uganda. When we do this, we will be able to now create interconnectivity between these communities, between the region, and this will see fast tracking of trade and projects. As government, our biggest role is to ensure that we have security, we have the necessary infrastructure, we have the necessary conducive environment to attract private investors to come in and invest in this region. But the other issue that we're also looking at is the issue of devolution. Devolution under our new constitution has sent development to far-flung areas of our country that had been forgotten for many years. And you look that under the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta, from 2013, there is steady progress in every corner of Kenya. I was very, very impressed when I was in Urum. Urum is right at the border of Kenya and Uganda. For the first time, they have health facilities. For the first time, they have schools. For the first time, they have roads being built. And we want to see devolution apart from the cross-border program that our partners are supporting us. And I want to thank the UN, I want to thank the EU. We also want to thank IGAD. At the regional level, as Sid has said, we have had regional programs of integration, particularly because of challenges of climate change. IGAD has been very instrumental in bringing together all the countries in the Horn of Africa to ensure that we build resilient countries. We also build resilient counties that are along our borders. This has seen Kenya develop very good institutions, policies that has seen NDMA come in play and actually deal with the issues of drought. As we speak, we are already developing the National Disaster Risk Management Policy and Bill that will also further strengthen this. But we will keep working with our neighbors so that we integrate these communities. And we're not only looking at roads, we're not only looking at water, we are also looking at education as a tool that can actually change the fortunes of these regions so that we have more children going to school instead of young people engaging in cattle rustling. We want to build peace schools, and we have quite a number in West Pokot. In Urum already, when we were there, we did confirm that we'll also be building a peace school there. This brings Karamoja, Pokot, Turkana children together. It's a tool of integration. Education is the ultimate equalizer. So we are looking at that also. The other issue is the issue of culture. As I said, when you look at the Ateker, whether they are the Turkana or the Iteso or the Toposa, they are very similar. They are one people separated by artificial borders. So we are also using culture as a tool of integration. And I must thank our governors. They've done a wonderful job, particularly Governor, when you look at Governor Nanok, we have Tobongulare that brings together people from across the 4 countries into one session that reminds them who they are, that they have more in common than what separates them. Apart from that, tourism is also one other area that we are looking at. We also have mining. We were with CS John Muñez. And these areas, apart from being endowed by other natural resources, we have oil in Turkana now, we have gold, we have rubies, we have huge potential for mining. But you cannot be able to tap into this potential when there's no peace. And that is why we want to work together as countries across our borders to integrate these communities and to use development as a tool of integration. Thank you.
Thank you, CS Wamalwa. And let me bring it back to Mr. Said. Well, clearly the road was very bumpy and it hasn't been a mean feat to get us where we are today. Just give us a sense of the importance of partnerships. Are there still challenges lying ahead?
You know, challenges will be there. These are very, very new initiatives. In fact, like I said, perhaps these are the kind of initiatives that the Secretary General would want to see replicated in other parts of Africa and other parts of the world. How do we make sure that the journey we've undertaken, now Abby, here is where we would need incredible tenacity, determination, and really goodwill. It should not be that it should get hijacked, because the road is bumpy. Any peace process, any peace between communities is bumpy, because there are issues that we still have to confront, like we saw when we were doing the Kenya-Ethiopia cross-border program, when the 36 tribes came together. You know, there are issues that need to be addressed, and we will have to continue to work on addressing. So the fundamental equation of peace is going to be absolutely mission critical to keep that going. So that must underpin everything else. But the peace must be accompanied by a development dividend. And that development dividend is people should see real action taking place on the ground. Now, that real action cannot come from the UN alone, cannot come from the government alone. That real action will mean government leading, the UN, the development partners like the CS mentioned, the European Union. We want to see many other development partners coming on board, the private sector, civil society organization. So we see the real spirit of integration. Frankly, if we get this model right, perhaps we will then see enduring peace break out throughout the region. It is my hope that we soon see this program expand to Tanzania, expand to Somalia. Imagine what this can do. I repeatedly say that Kenya is a beacon of hope. It is, because it is in a region of great fragility. We know we've got fragile states around us, but they want to emulate a good example. Therefore, the leadership of Kenya is going to be mission critical. As far as I'm concerned, as the UN resident coordinator, me, together with the entire UN country team, are determined to walk this journey all the way with the government of Kenya, not just in the cross-border programming, but to see the success of the Big Four development agenda, as well as Vision 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, which the Deputy Secretary General again reminds us that as UN resident coordinators and country teams, we have to flip the orthodoxy. We will have to do business differently. There is no scope and hope in wasting time in bureaucratic maneuvers. What you're seeing on the Kenya-Uganda, Kenya-Ethiopia cross-border program is we are overcoming, leapfrogging those bureaucratic obstacles to make us really move in the correct trajectory. But ultimately, it belongs to the host government, it belongs to their leadership. In Kenya, we are seeing an abundance of it. Over to you.
And very insightful sentiments there, Mr. Chatterjee. And you've touched on a very important aspect, the bureaucratic issues that have come across when it comes to delivering on such peace efforts. And I'd like to just still stay with you and just also ask, do you find this program having the sufficient political will, or is the will slowly running out?
Oh my God, I think it is representative, and that's why I said at the very outset, it is representative of the political will. If there is no political will, there's no way this program would have taken off in the first place. So, on that count, it's an A+, it's a gold star rating in terms of demonstration of political will. I have no doubt about it. Now it's a matter of sustaining it, and this is where the UN family, as I said, is determined. You've seen the early action the UN Development Program has taken. FAO has been there fighting the locust invasion in these very areas, and we've come to the end of really flattening the curve there, though we are not out of the woods. The UN is working together with our co-chairs of the UNDAF steering committee, which is CS Vamalwa and CS Yatani. On the UNDAF, you know that we reprogrammed about $45 million from our UNDAF to respond to the COVID crisis. But while we were on one side attending to the COVID crisis, we had the floods, which was inundating parts of Turkana and West Pokot, responding to that. And then we had the locust invasion. It's not been easy for Kenya, but the fact is that if you notice that we've still continued on some of the commitments that we had made despite these multifaceted challenges is a demonstration of precisely that political will. Over to you.
All right, Sid. And finally, just before I get back to the CS, I'd also want to just understand from you, how would you rate the level of success of the peace program? Well, a lot has been said when it comes to delivering community projects such as water, ensuring that the communities that were previously having small firearms have been able to surrender this. Would you give your honest assessment in terms of how this program has performed so far?
Well, let me talk about the Kenya-Ethiopia one then, because this was not assessed by us. It was assessed by the UN University of Japan. And they did an assessment. They looked at the prevention programs in 7 countries. And Kenya, they saw as a global best practice. I'm quite happy. It's in the public domain, their complete report on the Kenya-Ethiopia cross-border program. In fact, at the UN General Assembly in 2018, the ambassador, Ambassador Voronkov, who's responsible for the UN Office for Counterterrorism, actually invited the Kenyan and the Ethiopian governments to present the Kenya-Ethiopia cross-border program, and I was lucky to also join CS Vamalwa on that trip to the UN General Assembly in 2018. Very clearly, we have to keep a focus on this, my friend. That is going to be absolutely critical, because these roads are bumpy. We will have to make sure that the peace architecture is consolidated piece by piece, not allowing it to fray under any circumstance, but accompanying it resolutely with our development programs. And that must happen quickly. As I said, that is where the scale of partnerships and impact is going to take place. Keep in mind, these are places which, as I said, where the green revolution can thrive, where the green economy can thrive. What we need is, I said, harnessing that big data technology and innovation to make that happen. What I can tell you is that if we get it right and we keep the focus, in the next 2 to 3 years, Kenya would actually be able to, together with Uganda and Ethiopia and hopefully with Tanzania and Somalia, actually showcase what is possible, because the world needs good examples, good practices, and Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia have frankly trailblazed this new direction. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee. And indeed, it is illustrative from listening to you and to the Cabinet Secretary that a lot has been happening on the ground. And this is a program that, of course, remains commendable when you come to this part of Africa. And over to you, CS Vamalwa. Are there plans to roll out similar programs for ASAL areas? How soon will this be happening?
Thank you very much. We are very, very pleased so far with the progress we have made. From 2015, there is steady progress when we first signed the MOU between us and Ethiopia. And we have quite a bit happening on the ground. When you go to Marsabit County, that Moyale cluster is one area that a lot has been achieved. And we're not just looking at pastoralists, we are also looking at particularly the women and the young people. We want them to be at the center of this. Because when you look at the marginalization that has been there, it makes particularly the young people in these far-flung areas fodder for terrorism and radicalization. So we want to use this as a program that will integrate them into community, empower them. And I must thank Asfao. I think he's been very, very helpful in particularly the Moyale cluster. We have programs running where we are empowering the young people. There are programs that have also been empowering the women there. And we would like this replicated across the other counties. And this is as a result of the goodwill that has been there. I'm happy that SEED has confirmed that there is a marked change or improvement and commitment in terms of political goodwill. And it starts from the top, from the president himself. It is true that perhaps this goodwill or the political will was lacking previously because of maybe policy decisions. And of course, we have our history of session paper number 10 of 1965 that did not give much priority to these ASAL regions. And we can see that when it came to the administration of President Kenyatta, from the time he took office, from 2013, operationalizing devolution, implementing devolution for the last 7 years, we have seen marked improvement and commitment from government to ensure that no part of our country is left behind, including the borderlands. And through devolution, we have actually tried to end the culture of marginalization and to bring about equalization through devolution. So this one thing, as we mark 10 years of our 2010 Constitution, that we have to celebrate. And when we engage with governors, particularly from the frontier counties, they are seeing this happening, they are celebrating devolution, and we want to see how we can further strengthen this devolution going forward. But apart from devolution, this administration under the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta has also initiated other initiatives like the Northern and Northeastern Development Initiative. ABI, this is a 120 billion program with the World Bank. This is money that has gone into northern Kenya, to marginalized counties that have been left behind, and all our frontier counties are now feeling the impact of this development. Just the other day, we had the third initiative, which is the Horn of Africa Gateway Development Program. You are looking at another over 80 billion shillings that the World Bank approved the other day that the government of Kenya has been pushing to northern Kenya to ensure that we connect this part of Kenya to the rest of Kenya. We celebrate the road from here all the way to Moyale, but now with this over 80 billion shillings approved recently, we are going to connect Moyale all the way, Isiolo, all the way to Mandera, while we're also working from Modogashe to connect Garissa to Wajir. And these are transformative projects that are ongoing. So the political will that was hitherto lacking or that was not sufficient is actually, as Sid has said, being celebrated. I had the honor, and I was really truly honored, to address the UN General Assembly, and Ambassador Vorogov, I think, gave us a great honor with my governor from Turkana, Governor Nanok. We jointly addressed the UN. And the Ethiopian model of the cross-border program was actually celebrated as a model in Africa that can be used to stop violent extremism. And when we came to Uganda to sign the Moroto Peace Accord, from there again, when we went to the UN for the last General Assembly, we were again fated as a nation because of the success of the Moroto Accord. We want to see this replicated on other borders. We have the Mandera cluster. We also have the South Sudan area. These are areas that once we have covered, we'll see the clashes between the Toposa and also the Turkana and the Merile and the Nyantom ended. So we want to work very closely, but also looking at the Tanzanian border. When you look at the Maasai of Kenya and the Maasai of Tanzania, we have Merus in Kenya, we have Merus in Tanzania. These are the same people, separated by artificial borders. We're working with the UN, with the EU. We want to extend these across our borders so that we integrate all these communities living along our borders and we see increased cross-border trade instead of cross-border conflict. So we see this happening. As I have said, from 2015 to 2020, 5 years, we have covered a lot of ground. We are looking at another 3 to 5 years, ensuring that all these communities are brought together along all our borders. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, CS Omalwa. Well, gentlemen, we want to go on another quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll be opening up the lines to just hear what the viewers have to ask to my panelists. Well, stay tuned. We shall be back after this quick commercial break.
This is KTN News.